Time to move on to our insert last method. Now I know that a lot of these methods probably seem very similar to each other, but believe me, this is some very good practice around linked lists and making sure that you really understand how to work with one. So I know this might seem like a little bit repetitive, but this is some very good practice, and I'm very happy that you're going through it with me. So let's talk about insert last right here. Insert last will be called with some data argument. We need to take this data argument, create a new node, stick data into that node, and then insert that at the very end of our chain. Well, that's going to be an interesting one. So let's put this in diagram format and think about exactly what we need to do. So to get, let's say, this new node that we'll call orange right here, into the very last entry inside of our chain, what we really have to do is get a reference to the current last node. And then we will set the current last node next property to look at this new orange one that we would create. So in order to insert something at the very end of our linked list, we need to make sure that we can get a reference to the last element. Now you might be thinking, okay, let's write another for loop, do that same process again. But in this case, I want to remind you that one of the methods that we already put together inside of our linked list class, if we scroll up a little bit, we can find it. So up, here we go. So we already wrote a method called getLast that will return the very last node in our current linked list. So when you are in an interview setting, if you see some way to reuse some amount of code that you've already authored, I highly encourage you to do so. So this would be a perfect location where in an interview, you could either say, all right, let's iterate through our linked list and find the last node, or you could also simply say, well, let's call the getLast method that we already put together, and we will take the last node and add some existing or some additional node onto it. So for our solution, we're simply going to call getLast. We will get the last node on the chain. We will create our new node, which will be this orange one right here, and then we'll make sure that the old last node points to the new one that we just created. And that's pretty much going to be it. Now there is one other thing that I want to point out here for the solution. Don't forget that we need to handle the case in which our linked list is completely empty as well. So if we call insert last on an empty linked list, we need to make sure that we essentially do the right thing. So in this case, there is no last node here. We would need to make sure that we create a node and have our head property right here point at the new node that we create. So make sure that you handle both those different cases. All right, let's flip on over to our code editor and not forget to go to our test.js file. Around line 138 or so, I'm going to make sure that I remove the .skip for insert last right here. All right, and let's save that test file. So we should now see the insert last test failing. All right, so go ahead and give this a shot. I'll catch up with you in the next video and we will go over a solution to the insert last method.